exciting book adventure, friends. I know you're back to see chapter 27 Fly, and I'm excited you're here. Now, again, I recommend that you follow along with your eyes as we go through the story. Helps you to know the words and to become a better reader. But let's get started with chapter 27 Fly. But remember, if you want to find your own adventure or even read this along with me, click up in that link and you can find this book and many other adventures await. All right, let's get started with chapter 27, Fly. While waiting for all the results of Dr. Looper's extremely long list of tests, Tom was under strict bed rest orders from Matron. The boy's temperature was so high he was forbidden to leave his bed under any circumstances. First, the doctors at Lord Funt had to work out what might be wrong with him. As for Loopers, the newly qualified doctor had been thrown into such a panic that he passed out. In less than a week at the hospital, he had gone from doctor to patient. As soon as Tom was back in his bed, Sally turned to him and said, "So come on, Tom, tell me." "Tell you what? What you got up to last night?" Tom hesitated. "I'm afraid I can't tell you," he said. "But you promised." I know. Look, I am sorry, Sally, but the others told me it has to be a secret." "What has to be secret?" "The secret thing." "Well, what is the secret thing?" "Well, it wouldn't be a secret if I told you." "All right, then," replied the girl. It was clear she wasn't giving up. "What were you all doing down in the freezer room last night?" It became clear Amber had been earwigging as she joined in the conversation. "For goodness sake, Sally, the grown-ups are on to us. The principal of the hospital knows something is going on. So, look, the less people who know, the better. If you know everything, you'll be in trouble too." "But I'd love to be in trouble. I hate being left here on my own while you lot go out and have all the fun." "It's better you don't know," replied Amber. "But I won't tell anyone," pleaded Sally. "I covered for you all last night, remember?" Yes, thank you for that," said Amber. "We may need you to cover for us again tonight." "We are going out again tonight?" asked Tom. He couldn't believe they would risk it. "Yes," cried George from across the children's ward as he tucked into some chocolates. "It's my turn tonight." "What are you going to do?" asked Tom. "Lie," replied George. "Oh, no, please no," said Robin. "What do you mean, oh, please no?" demanded George. Matron must have heard the raised voices because she dashed out of her office. "What's all this now?" she demanded. "Nothing, Matron," replied Amber. "Nothing at all." "Really? Nothing indeed. It seems I have a ward of nasty little liars. Now my shift is finishing soon. Nurse Meese will be here in a moment. She will be in charge of the children's ward until nightfall. Then I shall return. If Nurse Meese has to report bad behavior from any of you, I will have you all of you thrown out of here and moved into separate hospitals. Do you understand me?" "Yes, Matron," the children all said together. "Good," purred Matron. "Sally, you will be going down for your treatment soon." "Do I have to?" asked the girl. "Stupid child!" snapped Matrone. "Yes, of course you do. What do you think you are here for? To have fun?" "No, Matron," replied the girl. At that moment the tall doors at the end of the ward swung open with force. Nurse Meese entered and said, "Morning, Matron. Morning, kiddies." "Good morning, Nurse Meese," said the children in unison. "Morning, Meese," said Matron. "How is that temperature of yours, Thomas?" asked the nurse. By her tone it sounded as if she suspected the boy was faking it. She was much more experienced than the new Dr. Boy Loopers, and so harder to fool. "Still very incredibly high, nurse," replied Tom. "That boy is not to leave his bed," said Matron, "under any circumstances." "Yes, Matron, you can trust me. I will make sure of that," said Meese as she eyed the boy suspiciously. Chapter 28, The Impossible Dream. Later that afternoon, the Midnight Gang began planning their night's adventure. George's dream was to fly. This would take some thinking, especially as it seemed the top brass at the hospital were on to them. With Sally downstairs receiving her special treatment and Nurse Me sitting in Matron's office, the children set to work. The children's ward of Lord Funt Hospital had a few tatty old board games. There was Snakes and Ladders, set that had no dice, a jigsaw of a cute white kitten playing with some balloons that had a number of pieces missing, and a game of operation with no batteries, so the patient's nose never lit up red. Tom, Amber, George, and Robin all pretended to work on the jigsaw together as they talked in hushed tones about tonight's adventure. Maybe we could make a glider out of some sheets and curtain poles, suggested Robin. The porter can help us put everything together. But where would we fly it? Replied Amber. There's nowhere high enough in the hospital. There's a stairwell, said Robin. This hospital goes up 44 floors. It must be a long drop. Excuse me, said George. I want to fly, not die. You would have a glider, replied Robin. Well, I would have some sheets and poles tied together. That's not the same thing, said George a little too loudly. All eyes turned to the office, but Nurse Meese was busy with her paperwork. Well, maybe you shouldn't have such an impossible dream, remarked Amber. But I always been dreaming. I ain't been heavy like this. George slapped his big stomach, and it wobbled like jelly for a few seconds. I want to feel what it's like to be as light as air. Tom had been listening to everything and searching his mind for an answer. As he placed a jigsaw piece down on the tray table in front of him, he realized the answer was staring them all in the face. Balloons, he said. What? Asked George. Let's not go down, let's go up, said Tom. Please would you be so kind as to explain, new boy, said Amber. You know at the birthday party when you sometimes have those special balloons that float, began Tom, his wording tumbling out in excitement. The other children all nodded in agreement. Well, if we could just get our hands on enough of them, then George would start at the bottom of the stairwell and float up. George smiled. Tom, I love it! Are there enough balloons in Britain? Asked Robin. Very funny, replied George. I bet there are enough dotted around this hospital, replied Tom. Patients often have them tied to their beds. There's one right there. With his eyes, Tom indicated over to Sally's bed. One lonely balloon with "Get well soon" printed on it was tied to her headboard. It was floating in the air just shy of the ceiling. What a brilliant idea of mine, said Amber. The girl obviously wanted to be back in charge again and didn't like that this new boy was stealing her thunder. What? Protested Tom. I was about to suggest balloons just before you did, she fibbed. Of course you were, said Tom. Come on, ladies, let's not fall out, joked Robin. I bet there are hundreds of those balloons in this hospital, said George in a rush of excitement. There's loads for sale in the gift shop on the ground floor. I often sneak down there to buy a chocolate bar or two. All we need to do is steal them. Borrow them, said Tom. Yes, the boy is right, added Robin. Borrow them is a much nicer word than steal. As soon as we are borrowed enough, said George, I'll be able to fly right up to the top of the stairwell. I will finally take to the air. George's face was glowing with the joy at the thought. The plan was so simple, it was brilliant. Let's tell our mate Porter. All the children had to do now was steal hundreds upon hundreds of balloons from all over the hospital without getting caught. And I hope that you will get caught in another thrilling adventure up there by clicking on the link or by joining us tomorrow for chapter 29, Balloons, Balloons, and More Balloons. We'll see you next time.